Yeah, public comment crowd, right?
I like it.
The mics are hot.
How hot? Like, are we streaming?
They actually are. Because it actually did it right away this time.
Right, we never could plan on it starting right up right away, so we, just, so,
I appreciate the heads
Heads up.
up.
so starting now.
Can always do this too.
WGR residents
I got
Facebook.
you right.
How's it going? Nice to see you.
Actually, you can do yours, but
Hi, I'm Lauren's puppy.
Oh, nice to meet you.
we can. Oh, you can right here.
But then I'm afraid to unmute them. We'll just stay hot.
It's nice when it works.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to.
Who knew? It wasn't gonna take 5 minutes.
Crash.
We should have Kira do a post about the kayak fiasco. I know, pretty soon it's very obvious, but, somebody would be like, what's
Right.
going on?
Yeah, we got those new things installed that, because it had been pretty warm for some commission meetings, so they installed, you can barely see them, but there are those things that are. tucked in
Ooh,
the
yeah, the
ceiling.
new air handlers.
Wow, they make a huge difference, because when I came up here 8 minutes ago, I was shivering, and I adjusted the temperature, now I'm like, wow, it's getting kind of hot in here. So,
We've been truly testing the air handling capabilities of this place lately with these meetings.
yes, we have, but
So meetings
it's nice when it
at
reacts
midnight?
like you want it to. 'cause
Right?
It's flipping the temperature now in 8 minutes.
Easier to
Pretty good.
watch it on video after.
Yeah.
Maybe not easier, but. Okay, let's all stare at that clock.
Is it gonna go faster that way?
It does.
Countdown.
That kid was fast.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
Are scooters supposed to be out there?
Well, I saw him and then I didn't see him. I'm like,
Oh,
where'd
he's
he
right
go?
there.
But he just stopped right there. That was a distraction tactic to have you look away from the clock, and then if you look back at it.
There you go.
Now hold your breath.
Plays right into my ADD though.
All right, it looks like it is 6 o'clock, so we will go ahead and call this September 22nd Parks and Rec Commission meeting to order. And I guess I'll do our official gavel here. So we'll start with public comment by persons in attendance, and seeing no one in the queue for public comment, we'll go ahead and close public comment and move to report of commissioners. We'll start, I guess, from left to right with Ryan down in the end there.
The only thing I can think of that's kind of come up on City Commission was we had we had the schools kind of piggyback onto our turf replacement contract for Lakeside Elementary School. They're doing a part there. None of the cost is coming out of the city coffers. They just wanted to get on our same contract and get the same construction schedule that we have currently for Maney Field. That's really the only update that we have right now.
Great. I had a question from a member of the community, a neighbor of mine, about the splash pad at Manhattan Park, and I realized probably best just to discuss it in the spring, but wanted to flag it. He had asked if it would be possible to consider having some earlier splash pad hours in like peak summer, because I think as many of us did, and that was really brutal few weeks in July when it was really hot and humid. I think everybody was trying to get outside first thing in the morning because it was really unbearable by like 10 or 11. So he was wondering if it would be possible maybe in peak summer to have earlier hours, or maybe some designated days or something to get a early splash pad time for little kids out. But probably a discussion in the spring, since it's the end of the season now, but.
Yeah, and just to add, Paul had reached out with the questions and just shared that the hours for splash pad were set by Parks and Rec Commission last spring, or might have even been June, because as we were anticipating the park to open, and I could see that being part of another discussion like in March, April, ahead of the season opening. It'll open Memorial Day weekend again, is what we're projecting. So certainly available for discussion by the group, and I had just shared with Paul, we looked at other splash pads in the area, and based on my experience, as you try to balance the users versus the water consumption, so trying to maximize that time frame, but certainly up for discussion by the group, because it's a Parks and Rec related input item. So we can flag that for more discussion in the spring, and if it likely might make sense to then have that same pickleball discussion like we had talked about. I think it was last month where I brought up, we've had some different requests and comments related to either renting the courts or not renting them, or how many to rent, and so we can kind of have an agenda full of Manhattan Park items late winter, early spring, unless there's a request by the group to have that at a different time frame. So.
Thanks. I've been to Manhattan Park multiple times over the past few weeks, and it's been bustling with kids and playing on the playground equipment in the fields. It looks great. Something to be proud of.
All right, I've got no report for the moment, so I'll go ahead and pass it.
For the school board, we did approve the lakeside turf replacement cost. And then the big focus now for the high school construction project has been finalizing the programming, that some of the very details that are going to go into the construction drawings. So like a level of detail about like how high the tiling will go on the walls and such. And once they have all those programming decisions done, they'll do construction drawings, and then it can go out to bid.
I wanted to comment on the lakeside thing too. I'm glad, I mean, it's great that you're doing a section of astroplay or field turf, but I'm really glad kids still can find real grass to play on. And I think it's great that a major part of that is going to be real grass. And as we all see, kids are everywhere doing everything right now. So it's an active time of the year. I don't know if it's any busier for Derek and his crew down there. It sure seems to be when I'm out and about. We're just an active community right now, so it's awesome.
Well, I continue to be happy with Manhattan Park. I love the amount of people that are using the park, and at this time of year is great with all the soccer kids there on the weekend, so that's great to see. One thing specific, I just wondered, is there any update on the playground piece that was busted early on, if there's a resolution to that yet?
Yeah, so I'm actually expecting a project update, like a change order to hit my inbox any day now. We had the playground manufacturer rep, just to back up for those of you that might not be familiar, this would have been a couple of weeks ago now, multiple weeks ago, we had an issue with one of the new pieces of play equipment. It's kind of like a swing, but it's anchored to the ground because it's for younger aged kids, and so it's not meant to actually swing, but be more of a play feature. And I had sent an update to everyone that it was, we either had some excessive misuse or vandalism. One of the two had happened, and they damaged the connection where it anchors into the ground, which then also damaged the essentially where kids would hold it while they're utilizing it, and we needed to get that taken out of there. because it just wasn't up to the safety standards that we have, even after taping it and doing some things. So we've reached out to the company because if this happened within weeks of its opening, we were looking for a different solution, not the same thing to go back that could potentially be damaged again. So I'm expecting to see if they're recommending either different attachment parts as opposed to a heavy-duty chain, which we now know can be damaged by hand, presumably, if that's what happened, or there might be braided cable or different options, or potentially a different piece of equipment in that space. So I'm hoping that's rep through Pentura. You're probably familiar with that, Steve. So we're I should know what they're recommending within the next couple of days.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And no report for me.
All right. So next on the agenda is our approval of the August minutes. Well, I guess first, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion?
I have one small thing, is Steve Krogman, the first line, says he's super exited to be serving on the Parks and Rec Committee. I believe that's supposed to be
You gotta stay.
exciting.
Exiting on it.
You weren't here for the splash pad meetings then.
But we can make that change administratively if that gets approved.
All right, excellent. Any other changes, comments, questions? Nothing? Okay. So moving on to, looks like next item is just the,
Hey, Patrick.
I approve.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could just do a vote.
I'm sorry. Oh, yep, sorry, guys. So we had our motion, our second, we had one change, no other discussion. So let's move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody,
Any opposed? No?
somebody in a hurry to get to the Lions game here? On here? Special event.
All right, so do we have anything to highlight on the special event calendar, Derek, or is that just enclosed for?
Yes, just enclosed for your our education purposes, also reminders, and just wanted to point out there the middle school regatta. Obviously, we ended up moving that indoors just to improve that experience for the kids participating, because there was some algae in the water, and that did get moved indoors. And I don't know if anyone had a chance to go see it at the pool, but it was quite a well-orchestrated event. We were able to pivot and get some lifeguards scheduled. The Aquinas swim team helped clear the pool after their practice was over to make way for the cardboard boats. Just a really fun experience to be part of, and lots of positivity can come about when we have the two, the city and the schools working really well together. So, but that's the only thing I was wanted to highlight on the event calendar, other than just making you all aware of it, as we do have a special event request as the next agenda item.
Cool. All right, so moving to that item, looks like we have an action item on the request to approve for the 2026 Corewell Health Irish Jig.
Yes, so just as a reminder, events like this come before this group for a review and potential approval of permits. And so renewing events do have the opportunity to reapply a year to the day in advance, sometimes just depending on how the planning goes from the event organizers. That may or may not happen right away. But in this case, the Corewell Health Irish Jig is a returning event that is put on through the Corewell Health Foundation. They hire different race organizers to partner with their team members at Corewell Health so that their Corewell Health team can do the things that they're really skilled at, and then the race director and the race organizing groups come in and do the things that they're skilled at, running efficient races. So this would be an event that is very similar to how they've operated in years past. They are our largest running event that we have here in the city, with approximately 4,000 participants, depending on actual registrations. They do sometimes start in waves. But with this being an event that's taking place, I forget the exact date here, it's right in front of me, in March, they're usually pretty motivated to get off the streets and, and indoors quite quickly. It's not a great hangout after the race, with the exception of they have been holding their post-race celebration at Big Bob's for the last couple of years in the parking lot, and that is another component of the event this year they'd like to maintain. That seems to have been a great improvement to the race, but also is good for business for Bob's as well. So happy to answer any questions you might have about the race, but they are an event that's in good standing with the city, and we found their application to be in order.
I have a question. This is probably a couple years removed at this point, but I think it was 2 years ago, there was like a almost blizzard that canceled the race. Is there, for events like this and maybe like the Gobble Wobble, more uncertain times of the year weather-wise, is there any risk to the city, financial or otherwise, from a canceled event? Like, do we have anything that we put in any stake or?
Sure. So it depends on the event that we're talking about, because we do have like the Reed's Lake Run and the Reed's Lake Triathlon. Those are events that are owned and operated by the city. Our staff are the ones putting those events on. And so for those types of events, we would have, there would be some capital that would be put out ahead of time, like securing the timing company, ordering shirts, things of that nature. For events that are run by outside groups, so the Irish Jig, the Gobble Wobble, the Resolution Run, the Harvest Festival, all those other events, the city generally, other than staff time to help facilitate discussions, and then maybe like if it were canceled the day of, if we had already put out barriers and barricades, things like that, so really low level investment, we would be out that amount. Some of that is covered by the $250 registration fee that we require for this, but there's no like large sums of money that would we would be out for these outside groups. And then just if in case that the next logical question would be how are the cancellations decided? Really we do try to lean on the event organizer. So in this case, Corewell Health, they 2 years ago, to your recollection, yes, they did make that decision to cancel. We have a phone tree that we follow. So if there is a decision on the Corewell side of things, they're communicating that to myself and the city manager, so we can make the appropriate personnel and commissioners and all that aware. But a lot of times those decisions are being made with support from city staff. So like myself and the public safety would potentially be involved in those discussions if the event organizer was looking for some guidance.
Thank you.
Races have been canceled before in East, and I would think Corewell has been a great partner for this race and for the community for a long time. You got to believe that a race that's canceled the day before has got 80% of their fees have already been collected. I would think if there were any possibility of an outside expense the city incurs, something could be worked out where, they're going to get the fees from the runners anyway. The runners don't get reimbursed. That's it. I would think that if there were some unusual fees the city had to pay, something could be worked out with the good people at Corewell. I'm happy to be on that committee if needed.
Yeah, to be clear, my question was not skeptical at all. I love this event. I've been doing it since, off and on, I think since 2006 is the first time I did it. But I was just curious from a commissioner standpoint.
Yeah. And then I guess just again, another layer to that is, sometimes when we have events that do take place in the off-season timeframes, we do try to work with the event organizer. I can't recall if it were the Irish Jig or if it were the Gobble Wobble event. This would have been back in like 21. We actually like salted some of the trails that, because there had been an ice or slush that hardened overnight. And so our DPW team kind of went above and beyond to help make sure the event could go on. And those types of things, we negotiate how those are going to be handled on a case-by-case basis.
As the history guy, 30 some odd years ago, there used to be a heart and soul race on Valentine's Day or the Saturday closest, and it was 10 below. And my son and myself and one other guy did show up, and they had this sign on the middle school door saying, "No race today." Come on. Wimpy people.
All right, so are there any other questions or items for discussion on this one?
I have just one question. Is the course planned to be the same as last year?
Yes, so the course had changed in recent years, where it used to start down by D&W more so. But they did adjust and change the course to limit some of the impacts. So we do have like start finish out front, and it does go down by the Canapa area and turn around. So last year was our first time experiencing that course. If my memory's serving correctly, I don't think we've had 2 years with that course. I think it's just a one. Last year we did identify a couple of areas for them to have some additional volunteers at, just to help with getting residents across the roads and out of their neighborhoods if need be. Certainly we do lock down the course at times, like when the peak when 2,000 people are going by, but when the intensity of runners starts to spread out and there's opportunities to squeeze cars in and out through that, they do. And they had just found a couple spots that made sense to have some extra
Very
items
nice.
there.
Any more questions on this one? It looks like this is an action item, so do we have a motion to approve this special event?
I'll move.
All right, motion by Paul, and do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Michelle. Excellent. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, excellent. Moving on to our next item here. It looks like this is information only, but I suppose if there are any questions, we can take those at this time too.
Yeah,
on the joint
absolutely.
Facilities.
Yeah, so I just wanted to update all of you since, obviously the Maney Field turf replacement's a big deal coming up in the very near future. And then also, as discussed by Commissioner Burdick, there was an additional turf project that's coming up that will be along the same timeline. So it's just as outlined in the memo, the Maney Field turf replacement project is scheduled to kick off next week, Monday. So they have, the high school athletic department has worked to reschedule practices and games for their involved high school athletic teams. I know for some sports they front-loaded their schedule to have a lot of home games to start the season, and then also have more away games later in the year because they knew it was coming up. And then also through our collaboration with Aquinas, we were able to get some practice times at Aquinas specifically for the field hockey program to use, just to make sure the disruption to the athletic teams was as minimal as possible. They will be mobilizing next Monday. That's possible. They'll start to deliver some safety fencing this week, the 25th, as they do plan to fully enclose Maney Field with fencing where there isn't already existing fencing. So they'll utilize the fencing along the lakeside and then the tennis court fencing, but they'll close that in for safety. So so middle school students won't be able to cut through the turf field for a couple of weeks as they make their way this way from school, as we probably all have seen that before. So we'll keep the public out. There will be an impact to the parking lot, as noted in the memo. There's a diagram. It still will be open, but to bring in the new turf and the rubber crumb that's associated with that, and then also to remove the old turf. Sorry, I'm feeling like the mic cut out there. They need to get semi trucks in and out, so we need to maintain like a construction. We're calling it a chute that they can back their semis in, load them up, or unload and get in and out of there. So just be aware of that generally, especially if you have middle schoolers that. If you pick up in that area, that's not going to be a great spot for pickup after school with the construction activity taking place. It is scheduled to be, approximately 4 to 5 weeks. Some of that's weather dependent. They need certain temperatures for the glue to adhere. And then obviously they're trying to work in favorable conditions. But really nothing scheduled on Maney Field until the springtime. So if it does, if the project gets completed and finished earlier than expected and the weather's still nice, there might be some opportunities for some teams to use it this fall, but there's no athletic games or practices that specifically would need it for this fall. And then kind of switching gears to the next project as noted, so that Lakeside Turf Elementary. In the memo, there is also a map there that shows the proposed turf area. Just as a brief history, before we completed the elementary school playground projects, over at Lakeside Elementary for the lower elementary students, they had their playground area and they didn't have a grassy area to play in. They had a parking lot that was sometimes was used for recess. And so as part of the playground improvement project, there was a natural grass area that was added in. That was part of the whole redesign of the parking lot in that space. And it is widely used by those lower elementary school age kids to the point where grass can just not be maintained in that space. It just gets such heavy wear 5 days a week times however many recesses. If it's muddy, snowy, all of those things that would tell you to maybe stay off of the grass, they don't have that luxury there. So it gets worn down. And so as an opportunity to maintain a green space area for them to play in, but also have it be something that they can maintain. The schools have decided to put in artificial turf in that space. Again, as noted tonight, we still have our contract with Caterberg Verhaeg, the construction company, for that project. There's still some items that we're working on with them. And so this artificial turf project will be a change order as part of that contract. But to Commissioner Burdick's point earlier, it's going to be paid for solely by the schools. But the city, we were reviewing it because if it falls under our contract, we pay it, but we'll be reimbursed by the school district. And so one of the questions that was asked of us at the city commission meeting was, well, does that then get put into the turf replacement fund for the future? How does that work? And we have not had a joint facilities committee meeting recently. And so I suspect that will be a discussion at their next joint facility committee meeting. But of course, the district was comfortable moving forward without those conversations happening first. Very similar timeline. I expect the Lakeside project to maybe tail the Maney project by a week or so, as they'll get mobilized here, get some initial items done, mobilize at Lakeside. We currently do not have exact dates yet. They're still working through that, and I know the school district will be managing communications on this to make sure everyone's aware for school pickup purposes, but also just so like recess disruptions, those types of things will be handled by the school district. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about either of those projects, if you have any.
I do.
Yeah.
I consider Maney Field to be a pretty heavily used field. How long does a field last or how often does it need to be replaced?
Yeah, I would say if the proper preventative maintenance and like annual maintenance activities are happening, what we've experienced here and also what we've heard from professionals in that industry is that 10 to 12 years would be a reasonable timeline. If you're lacking on your preventative maintenance, or if there's just excessive wear for some reason, you might be on the shorter end of that. But what we've experienced here, like a 10 to 12 years, is not out of the ordinary with the proper maintenance practices in place.
This is our third field that we'll have. This is the second replacement, so our third time we've had this filled in.
Correct.
Because the first one was like 2,099 right in there, and then, 10, 12 years later was number 2, and this will be number 3. Normal use.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be good practice for our community to handle construction traffic. We're just going to have a little preview, see how we do. So don't record me in my car during that time.
All right, no other questions on that one? Looks like our next item is also an update on the vertical alignment pilot.
Yes, so I just wanted to check in with all of you to give an update on our new pilot that we are working on in partnership with the school district. So if you may recall, we had a new position that we were looking at hiring at the city for a sports supervisor position, and ultimately we ended up accomplishing that in a different way. And that different way was by contracting with the school district for some of Mr. Josh Shattuck's time and expertise for him to fill in some of the roles of the vertical alignment initiatives that we've been looking very excited towards for implementing. And so, after the initial hiring process for the sports supervisor that didn't result in a hire, we had additional conversations with the school district that led us to this pilot project. And I just want to share some of the highlights with all of you because we've it's mid-September right now. We started right around middle of August on this, like right as football season was starting. And we have some good traction that's happening already. So as you may recall, a couple of the deliverables for this would be like a coach's handbook that would be comprehensive and general in nature, that would outline all of like the expectations of our youth and middle school coaches, general philosophies that we all of the leadership would support. So like for playing time and different types of player-related items that we should be aware of, player expectations, league rules. So Josh had started that initiative. He's made contact with every varsity coach that is a coach of a sport that is falling underneath this for year 1. And just as a reminder, it's football, field hockey, basketball, baseball, softball, and track. So some of our larger sports that we have here in East. So we got a really great start on that general coaching manual. The next phase of that is to develop some sport-specific components to that manual. So if we have a community member that has a child that's going to play in the field hockey program, once this is complete, they'll get a manual that's specific to field hockey that has all the general components, all the community expectations, and all the things that would apply to every sport. But then there would be specific items related just to field hockey to kind of give that roadmap to success for both the athlete and also our youth coaches. Also, you may have heard we are rolling out a new basketball opportunity. So we have our rec programs that are not going to be changed. Those are your traditional Saturday morning basketball, playing on teams with your classmates, and that would allow for buddy requests and those types of things. But one of the main things we've been hearing on the basketball side is developing like a higher level of playing opportunity opportunity from like a skill perspective. So we have added, we're calling it, until we change the name to something final, but the East Basketball Club, which would be seen as again, a more competitive option to the rec program. And we are setting it up so families can, if they want to do both, they can. They don't have to make that choice to either to leave rec or to jump to the club option. They can play in both. But one of the main differences is the club teams will be, we will have a tryout, and the teams will be made based on evaluations that are completed by the varsity coaching staff for both boys and girls. And then the teams, instead of playing other East Grand Rapids teams like we do for the rec program, they'll be signing up and playing at the Courthouse Athletic Facility. It's a big gym in Byron Center, so it's nothing to do with legal things. So the courthouse is simply because there's lots of courts inside this building. And so this new program would provide, basketball-centric families that are looking for a little bit more competition to sign up for this program and go play other teams from West Michigan that, again, are based more on skill than relationships and buddy requests, things of that nature. And one of the great things about the Courthouse facility is that they do their scheduling weekly, and they try to line up teams with similar records. So you're always having an opportunity to play a balanced game. Doesn't necessarily always happen that way, but that's the way they try to set it up that way. So if teams are traveling from East Grand Rapids or wherever, when they're meeting in Byron Center, they're having as evenly matched games as possible amongst kids within their age group. We've had a really positive response to this. So right now I know, and this program is for 3rd through 6th graders. Part of the reason why we did not add 7th and 8th graders is we're modeling this after The Rock is the name of a program in Rockford. And we've learned that with the varsity coach involvement, it's best to not have middle school involvement just because of MHSAA guidelines. And so we're looking at separate other ways to accomplish some more opportunities for middle schoolers. But so just for 3rd through 6th, it's looking like we'll have 2 3rd and 4th grade teams for both boys and girls, and then at least 2 5th and 6th grade teams for both boys and girls. And that's on top of all of the kids that are playing rec as well. So we're looking at having regular numbers at our rec program level, and then there's another 80 to 100 kids that will be potentially playing in this new basketball opportunity. So I think that that checks a lot of the boxes of the vertical alignment initiative that we're looking at. Is direct ties to the varsity program through the involvement with the coaches. Adding additional basketball opportunities or participation opportunities that keep kids in East Grand Rapids together instead of them all going to different clubs. If we can keep some of them playing together, not having to travel for practices, staying right here locally in East, and then when they do travel to games, Byron Center, I travel it every day. It's 25-minute drive. It's much more reasonable than heading out to the lake shore or some of these other places. And then again, without any major disruption to our recreation programs. That number one, that's our bread and butter. We certainly do understand some families that are looking for more might on their own choose not to do the rec program, but it's not because we're not able to allow them to do both. It would just be a family decision at that point. And then just a couple of other notes on the vertical alignment front. We did add cheer, and although there's not a high school cheer program, again, we're just trying to find more opportunities for our residents to participate, and we have approximately 120 girls that ended up signing up for the cheer. And then we are going to be offering for softball. Last year we started softball again, and we had one combined team, and due to the interest, it's looking like we'll have at least 2 teams this spring, maybe even a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade separate team, depending on where numbers are at. So quickly we've been going from not having anything to growing quite large on the cheerleading front, the softball front, and now the basketball front as well. So, but happy to answer any questions you might have about the vertical alignment stuff or basketball in particular, or whatever's on your mind.
I've got one. So we've got cheerleading through 6th grade and crazy participation. What happens next year?
Yes, we talked about that in our office a little bit. So sideline cheer is not a sport that counts for Title IX. So we would be able to add sideline cheer at the middle school level next year if there was enough interest. This year we have, it's 1st through 6th grade is what the ages are. Our 6th graders are very few. I would say less than 5 probably. So it might, if it's not next year, we know it might be 2 years down the road. And that would be the intent, is to try to grow it at that level as well. Is if we're feeding up, if we have enough interest at the youth levels to have a middle school cheer team, we would offer that.
And that would just keep rolling up as the interest is there?
It would keep rolling up to the to the high school level if that continued to grow. I do know the high school, we connect quite regularly, Chris Zylstra, the athletic director, and they have done interest lists over time for cheerleading with the intent of trying to offer something if the interest was there. They have not quite had that yet, but I think now with the numbers that we have behind us and the excitement, and we've been getting parents wanting to order EGR cheer shirts and actually going all in on it. Naturally, that will be our next step.
And that's why I was asking. I didn't want everyone to get all excited for this and then be like, well, that was fun. All right, move on to something else now. If it'd be nice that if there's that much interest, that they can continue doing it as they get older, like every other sport in town.
Yeah, I think certainly that is our intent, is if there still is interest, we'll continue to grow. And with this being our first year, even just from some of that advertising and promotion, I think we could have maybe even had 150 girls this year. But we'll look towards that. And one piece that I'm always, as director, need to be conscious of is, as I mentioned just in this update, adding basketball, adding cheer, adding softball. Some of these things eventually will come with requests or discussion about extra staffing, because although we have the pilot program with the schools, that's more of the vertical alignment piece and getting things stood up. And then really the other half of that was the position that we were trying to hire for, that we ultimately did not. And so we'll continue to keep everyone aware and informed as to what the needs are to support the activities that we have.
I just had a question. I know you mentioned obviously some difficulties with the MHSAA, and when it gets to up into middle school right before high school, what are some of the vertical alignment opportunities that are still there for the students in 7th and 8th grade getting ready to go to high school sports? Are there programming opportunities that we can explore that don't kind of jeopardize the eligibility and whatever other concerns might be with the MHSAA?
Yes, certainly there are other opportunities, and just to speak of basketball, for example, last winter, before we had the vertical alignment initiative lined up, we actually did offer 7th and 8th grade boys basketball courthouse teams after their regular season. We just didn't involve the high school coaches, and we managed that ourselves internally. And I think that's kind of a model that we'll look at least in the interim, until we figure out a better solution. But it does get a little bit tricky, and not to bore you all with the details, but it's the way that the sports seasons work. So right now, trying to think here. Right now, it would be youth girls, or soon, I should say. Starting winter 1 would be the youth girls program, and then the middle school boys program, and then that flips in the winter season. But it makes it hard to try to have girls' middle school courthouse teams organize and play together before their season starts, before they know who's
All right,
on which team, et cetera. So that's a detail we need to get ironed out. But unfortunately, in this scenario I just shared for boys, it works great as they play their season. Then when their school season's done, they can just roll right into courthouse, and it's backwards for girls. So we'll figure out a solution for that. And then I think a lot of the things that we're working on from just that general raising the bar perspective will apply for all the middle school athletics. Like one of the things that we've talked about is treating all sports as if it were interscholastic at the middle school level, even if it's not. And again, not to bore you with too many details, but we do provide some sports that are not considered interscholastic. Football is one of them, baseball is another, softball is another. And they're not interscholastic because the middle school league that we're part of, not everyone has those sports. So we have to go find our own ways to play. But as we're developing those programs and coming up with the player handbooks and the expectations of the players, maybe it's game day dress, how you present yourself on game day, those types of things. We're talking about unifying those across all sports, so then it's not seen as, oh, well, you're playing more of like a rec team, and that's not an interscholastic sport in 8th grade. We don't want there to be a difference. We want the kids to think, hey, I'm playing middle school and next year it's high school, and we have these same expectations no matter what sport we're playing, no matter if it's interscholastic or not. I think that's where a lot of our opportunity for improvement will be for some of the existing middle school sports.
And then is the pilot, is that a year, it will be evaluated every year in terms of what the additional needs are potentially?
Yeah, so the first year, or I should say currently, we did sign a 1-year agreement with the intent of next spring getting together and with the school district, and we have very specific deliverables that were outlined and making sure that those are being, those that have met or at least made really great progress. So the discussions for a potential renewal, which would then in year 2 would include some of the other sports that weren't included the first time around. But it should be a lot easier in year 2 because we'll already have all of the templates and the general information and all of that established. It'll be a matter of refining and adding the sport-specific details in year 2 if supported by the city and the school district.
Gotcha. Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
As, speaking of Mr. Shattuck, I'm one of the varsity coaches that is involved in this project from the other end. So I think any questions you'd have from that point of view, I'm happy to entertain. I appreciate Mr. Shattuck in a couple of different reasons. First of all, he's broken up. There's a lot of work here, and so he's putting a lot of homework on coaches, and some coaches are extremely busy. I appreciate that he's chunking it out. My second homework assignment is due this Friday, if anybody would like to help. It's more philosophical right now as far as it's not really, what do you do for a workout or whatever. It's more our approach and that type of thing. He's been available to communicate with, which I also appreciate. He's checked in with me, I checked in with him. Are you okay with what I wrote, kind of thing? And so I really appreciate so far his involvement, and it's been a good partnership so far, but it's a work in progress. This is going to take a long time to get this all done because these sports are very different.
Right.
What we do in our sport is far different than some other sports. And so he's got a lot of work. Luckily, the little bit I know about him, he's been involved in a lot of different things. He's not just, his background is not just football. He seems to know my sport, and I appreciate that. So it's been a good deal so far.
I just want to express gratitude for the handbook that he's building, that Coach Shattuck is building. I think this is going to be a terrific enhancement to the program, and I think it will clarify the expectations for the coaches, for the players, help guide the parents a bit better. I think there's been a lot of confusion and misunderstandings through the years, and I think this is a great idea, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on this agenda item? So we can move on to agenda item number 9, which is report of director.
Yes, so I'm going to give you some new info that is not on the director's report. So to keep it fresh here. So a couple of items for you. Number one, we are doing a robot mower demo down in John Collins Park. I don't know, so if you see.
I saw that today.
I saw it today too. It's right outside my window.
That's a product that we've demoed over at Remington at the baseball field. Now we're trying it at John Collins Park in the green space between the boat launch and Roses. It's, the technology is changing in that space, and although we have a mowing contract that we're just in year 1 of year 3, we're just trying to see what's out there, and so this is a no-cost demo that the company's provided us with a mower, and we're able to see how it works and just test it out. I was there this morning as they were demoing it, and yeah, sure enough, if you stand right in front of it, it'll stop and decide if it's going to go left or right around you. And it's like a neat robot, and we had lots of interested people watching, and a big party coming out of Roses, and it's really neat to see. But just know that we're just trying to check on technology that's out there and what environmentally friendly solutions might be available, because it is just an electric mower, very quiet as well. I don't know if did anyone that saw it, did you close enough to, you can barely even hear it at all. So
I think it works well. Patrick, as you know, on the Community Foundation, we're funding or help fund a buyback program to get rid of gas-powered equipment in East Grand Rapids. You can get $100 off if you want to turn in your weed whacker or whatever. And this is right in line with that, right? It's not gas-powered, it's not, there we go. I like it.
So we know technology will continue to change for the better over the next couple of years in that space. So, for example, some of the limitations right now is it has to mow almost every day because it can only cut a little amount. It's not going to mulch leaves and those types of things. So it wouldn't completely eliminate the need for us to have support from a mowing contractor. It also can only get so close to things, so weed whipping still would be necessary in areas, but definitely something for us to keep an eye on as things progress.
Are there any more demos coming up?
So it's not just a one-dayer. So this one, we will have this one for a little bit of time, and we'll get to test it out, and hopefully it's there every morning when we come back. And
So the next couple days at John Collins Park?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So if you and it is currently, even though we are using it during the daytime today, one of the neat things about this is since it's so quiet, it can be scheduled to mow at night without disrupting anyone. So that's most of the time we'll have it demoing at nighttime, and we'll be able to come in and check to make sure, yes, it hit the areas it was supposed to and those types of things. So you might not see it in action, but you would see it at its home base. There's a charging station. There's like a power panel that's in between Roses and John Collins Park where there's some plugs there. You'll be able to see it over there. And the mower is probably about the size of this. It'd sit right here nicely. So check it out if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple other things. So you may recall we did apply for 3 DNR grants this funding cycle for Waterfront Park. And so we applied for those. Those were due in April. And then over the last couple of months, the DNR has been reviewing those applications. And the way the process works, they give us a preliminary score, and which kind of tells me, hey, this is, if you don't do anything, if you don't change anything in your application, this is the score that you're going to get. And we did recently receive those preliminary scores, and I have until October 1st to submit some supplemental information to try to gain some more points. And we, like I said, we applied for 3. The one that I'm most excited about is the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. That is a program that we applied for $500,000 in funding. The maximum score that any community would be eligible, or that any community could get, is 380 points. That's the top points. As a community here in East Grand Rapids, we're not eligible for the top level of points because we don't have community need financially, and then based on their criteria. And then also, this project doesn't involve renovation of an existing facility, so there's 20 points right there that we're not eligible for. We scored 300 out of 380 to start, and so that means with my supplemental information, the maximum extra points we could get would be 25 extra points. So I'll be providing them with some additional information about some universal accessibility for project components, and then also some sustainability. We could gain 5 more points in that category. So that's the good news, is that they've scored us very highly from the start, and I have received good news from the State Historic Preservation Office that we're no longer going to be required to do additional digging or pre-construction testing for historical items, because that property was filled in the past. There's a long 100-year history, I learned, of that property, that so it was filled in and graded and was going to be condos back in the 70s, but that's obviously not happening now. But so really great scores on that. The other 2 grant programs, the Recreation Passport and the Trust Fund grant, those were 2 applications that we submitted just to kind of hedge our bets, if you will, for lack of a better description. And those both scored at 125 out of 250, which those are not great starting points. We do have the ability to gain more points through the supplemental information, but part of the process, or part of my clues, is that if that's our initial score, they're obviously not as excited about that project as they are the Land and Water one. And the reason being for that is we put in certain project components in different grant applications to kind of see what they would think about them. And the Land and Water grant that we scored 300 points on, it has the expanded parking lot, it has a potential playground area, and all the trails all packaged together. And so it just checks a lot of the boxes for the things that they're looking at. They look for access, so expanded parking lot would be important to them. They look for diversity of amenities within a community, or proximity for community members, so they won't have to travel as far to get to a certain type of facility. But so I guess I'm just, in general, I'm pleased with that initial score, and we'll work to get some more points on those applications. And then last 2 things for you. Number 1, the kayak kiosk. You may have noticed it's moved from its location over there by the corner of Maney Field. It's still in service, just with construction coming up at Maney Field next week. We wanted to get it out of there so it didn't get blocked in, but we're still seeing some really good use from that kayak kiosk for rentals. And then lastly, I know I put it in a memo, but just wanted to verbalize it, that I did have a new hire semi-recently. Elijah Vlasis is our newest sports supervisor. He was an intern with us for a period of time, and when we had a vacancy from another staff member leaving, Elijah was able to fill that role, and so he's hit the ground running and is helping establish this new basketball program and taking over the rec program as well, and we're just really pleased to have him on our team. So.
Wonderful.
That.
Real quick, the kayak kiosk, maybe I missed it. Where has it been moved to?
So it got moved just down the hill, so it's actually closer to the water now, by the kayak launch over. And I know I'm pointing this way. I'm thinking I got my orientation right. Yeah, it's back there, just closer to the lake now than it was previously.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Question you mentioned on the grant, so is the plan to have responses on all 3 grants, or just the one that we have the best opportunity to secure?
Yeah, so
What's the-
I do plan on supplying supplemental information for all three grants for a couple reasons. One, I put in all the effort to apply from the start, so I'll see it through, but also a lot of the supplemental information for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, the one that covers everything. I just need to take bits and pieces of that and plug that into the grant programs to separate it out.
Okay.
And the strategy behind it, even though our scoring for some of those might not have been as high as the one, I do have semi-regular communication with our grant coordinator just to stay in the loop on what he's hearing and kind of what our funding chances are. It does sound as though there's going to be a large acquisition request in the Land and Water Conservation Fund program, and which in my experience, there's not a lot of acquisition requests in that, and that's for a community to purchase a new property, kind of like the city did for Waterfront Park at one point in time. And so a $5 million acquisition could take a lot of those available funds for the year. So I'd rather keep our kind of applications in the other baskets in case funding dries up in that area. We still have the opportunity in the other two. Now, I'm being realistic. The chances of funding for those others are more slim, but there's no negative impact for keeping them in there. And again, if it were going to be a ton of extra work, I'd likely would have that sort of conversation with Shay, the city manager. But they're all related, so it shouldn't be much replication of effort.
Cool, thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that there's going to be follow-up on all three when we approve the funds to go after the grants. Like, I like the idea of, like, let's put our full effort into it. So happy to hear it.
Have you had past experience with land and water grants, and are you curious, like, what a score? Do you have past experience, like, to know, oh, I got a 320 approved once, or I got a 280 approved? Like, do you know ballpark?
Sure. So I actually directly asked that exact question and did not get a direct answer because they said it could change from year to year, and so and I was like, just tell me I got a chance, right?
Yeah.
But I do have past experience working. Actually, when I was in Traverse City, we received a couple of Land and Water Conservation Fund grants, but unfortunately, I just don't recall the scoring and the. That notion of that really large acquisition looming out there too. But I have to believe we're in a pretty good position to start, but those extra 25 points will be really helpful for us if we're able to get those, just because, starting behind some communities, starting 50 points behind them, there's a lot of work to make up. But unfortunately, they wouldn't give me even a number to try to guess with.
Yeah, sure.
Great, any other questions? Everybody good? And then I think the last item, we just have standing communications on here. I don't know if there are any communications.
Not today, it's been a
closed
little
this time.
while.
Cool. All right, so with that, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:57 PM.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Go Lions. Right?
Came late, yeah.